More than 2,500 years have passed, yet one name still stands as a symbol of power, ambition, and conquest: Alexander the Great. In his short life, he changed the map of the world. By the time he was just 20, he had taken control of Macedonia, and within a few years he had conquered lands stretching from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and even India. This was an age when communication was slow, maps were incomplete, and travel could take months or even years. And yet Alexander built one of the greatest empires in history. He blended Greek philosophy, Persian administration, and Eastern traditions in a way the world had never seen before. But how did he do it? Was he truly great? Or was he just an ambitious young king who conquered everything except his own inner self? Let's find out. Alexander was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of ancient Macedonia. His father was Philip II, the king of Macedonia, and his mother was Olympias, one of Philip's 7 wives. As a prince, Alexander grew up with all the privileges of royalty. According to Plutarch, in the life of Alexander, he was taught by private tutors from a young age. One of them was Leonidas, a strict relative of Philip, who trained Alexander hard in combat, horse riding, and military tactics. Later, another teacher named Lysimachus was appointed to teach him music, poetry, reading, and writing. When Alexander was only 10 years old, an unusual event changed the way his father saw him. A trader brought a horse to Philip's court, but no one could control it. Just as Philip was about to dismiss the trader, Alexander stepped forward and said he could handle the horse. Philip agreed, curious to see whether his son could really do it. Alexander calmly approached the horse, spoke softly to it, stroked it, and then mounted it with confidence. He rode it with ease. Philip was so impressed that he told him, "My son, seek a kingdom worthy of yourself. Macedonia is too small for you." He then bought the horse and named it Bucephalus. This was the horse Alexander would later ride into many battles. When Alexander was 13, his training reached a new level. Philip hired one of the greatest philosophers in history, Aristotle, to teach him. Aristotle gave Alexander daily lessons in Mysa, at a temple of the nymphs. There, Alexander studied alongside other royal children, many of whom later became his friends and generals. Aristotle taught him about religion, art, logic, and philosophy. Philip was so impressed by this education that he rebuilt Aristotle's hometown of Stagira, which had been destroyed in war, and even freed the town's enslaved people. Alexander's first major challenge came when he was only 16. Philip went to war against Byzantium and left Alexander in charge of Macedonia. Some people thought this was a weakness they could exploit. A Thracian tribe called the Maedi rebelled, believing the young prince would be easy to defeat. They were badly mistaken. Alexander crushed the rebellion, drove them from the territory, settled Greek citizens there, and named the city Alexandropolis. When Philip returned and saw how Alexander had handled the crisis, he was deeply impressed. He gave Alexander his own small army and entrusted him with keeping future rebellions under control. For the next 3 years, Alexander accompanied his father on military campaigns. Together they defeated the kingdoms of Elatea and Amphissa, and then faced the combined armies of Athens and Thebes at Chaeronea. Philip commanded the right wing of the army, while Alexander led the left. He performed brilliantly, and they won the battle, bringing most of Greece under Philip's control. After Greece was secured, Philip turned his attention toward Persia. Once again, he left Macedonia in Alexander's hands, and once again, Alexander proved himself capable. But things at home soon became complicated. Philip decided to marry again, and his new bride was Cleopatra Eurydice, a fully Macedonian woman. This threatened Alexander's future as heir, because if Cleopatra had a son, that child could become the rightful successor before Alexander. According to Plutarch, during the wedding feast, Cleopatra's uncle Attalus raised a toast and wished that she would soon bear a son, so Macedonia could have a true Macedonian heir. Alexander was furious and threw his cup at Attalus, shouting in anger. Philip, instead of defending his son, stayed silent. Hurt and humiliated, Alexander left Macedonia with his mother and went to Epirus, where his uncle, King Alexander I, ruled. Meanwhile, Philip did have a son with Cleopatra, but the tension between father and son had already grown. Philip later called Alexander back, hoping to repair their relationship. Alexander returned, but things were never quite the same again. Then Philip arranged the marriage of his daughter, also named Cleopatra, to Alexander's uncle, the king of Epirus. The wedding day arrived, and as Philip entered the theater, one of his bodyguards suddenly stabbed him. Philip died on the spot. The reasons behind the assassination remain disputed, but according to the historian Diodorus, the assassin was a bodyguard named Pausanias of Orestis. He had reportedly been abused by men connected to Attalus and wanted Philip to punish them. When justice never came, he took revenge himself. After Philip's death, Alexander was declared king of Macedonia. He was devastated by his father's death, but he also understood that if he hesitated, he could lose everything. So he made ruthless decisions. According to Diodorus, Alexander and his mother arranged the killing of Philip's new wife, Cleopatra, and her newborn child. He also sent orders to execute Attalus, who was in Asia Minor. One by one, Alexander removed his political rivals. Soon after Philip's death, word spread that a strong and dominant king was gone, and a 20-year-old had taken the throne. Revolts broke out across the kingdom. Athens and Thebes, which had recently been conquered, believed they could regain their independence. Ignoring the advice of his counselors, Alexander marched with 3,000 soldiers to crush the revolts himself. He reached Thebes first and destroyed the city completely. His brutal response terrified other kingdoms, and the rebellions quickly died down. Everywhere he went after that, he was welcomed without resistance, and he established himself as a powerful ruler. But Alexander was not satisfied. Aristotle's teachings had made him ambitious from childhood, and now that he was king, he wanted the whole world. In 334 BCE, he left Greece in the hands of his trusted general Antipater and set out for Persia with an army of about 40,000 soldiers. Alexander believed the Persian kingdom was a gift from the gods meant for him to conquer. His first major test came at the Battle of the Granicus River. The river itself was a major obstacle, and the Persian army, led by the general Memnon of Rhodes, waited on the other side. Their force was smaller, but they were well positioned. Alexander used a wedge-shaped attack, sent his troops across the river, and struck directly at the Persian center. Some sources say Alexander himself fought in the battle and killed several Persian soldiers. At one point, he was nearly killed by an axe attack, but he survived. The Persians were defeated, and many fled. Some were captured, including Greek soldiers who had joined the Persian side. Alexander treated them as traitors and executed them. After Granicus, he captured Sardis, the capital of Lydia, and moved along the Ionian coast. The local people welcomed him, and he told them they were now free from Persian rule and could live under democratic principles. He then marched to Halicarnassus, a coastal fortress city and important Persian naval base. The city's walls made it extremely difficult to capture. Alexander surrounded it, built towers, ramps, and catapults, and attacked. The Persians responded with nighttime raids, trying to destroy his equipment, but they failed. According to modern historian A.B. Bosworth, the siege lasted about 2 months. In the end, the Persians set fire to the city and escaped by sea. Alexander took the city and restored Queen Ada of Caria to power. In return, Ada adopted Alexander as her son, symbolically strengthening his claim. Next, Alexander marched to Gordium, the capital of Phrygia. There, according to legend, he was shown a chariot tied with an impossibly complex knot. The prophecy said that whoever could untie it would rule Asia. Alexander examined it for a moment, then drew his sword and cut through the knot with a single strike. Whether that counts as solving the riddle or simply ignoring it, the story became one of the most famous legends of his life. From there, he headed south and came face to face with a much larger force led by Darius III, the king of the Persian Achaemenid Empire. The battle that followed was the Battle of Issus. Even though Darius had a larger army, Alexander's tactics and courage won the day. Darius fled, leaving his kingdom behind. By 332 BCE, Alexander had conquered Syria and Lebanon. Then he turned toward Tyre, an island city on the Mediterranean coast. Its location and massive walls made it nearly impossible to conquer. Alexander besieged it for 7 months. In a brilliant engineering move, he had his army build a causeway of stones through the water and used it to reach the city. According to Arrian, once he finally broke in, he ordered a brutal massacre of about 8,000 people. After Tyre, Alexander advanced into Egypt, and the cities along the way surrendered. The only major holdout was Gaza, built on a hill and difficult to assault. Alexander attacked 3 times before finally taking it. The battle cost many of his men, and Alexander himself suffered a serious shoulder wound. In Egypt, however, he was welcomed as a liberator and even treated like a divine figure. The Egyptians called him the son of a god, and he was honored almost like a pharaoh. There he founded the city of Alexandria, which later became one of the greatest trade centers in the ancient world. After Egypt, Alexander marched to Babylon, the capital of Persia, and the place where Darius had taken refuge. He still had about 47,000 soldiers, though some historians believe Darius had as many as 1 million troops in Babylon. In 331 BCE, the 2 armies met at Gaugamela. Darius placed chariots and elephants at the front, hoping to crush Alexander's army. Alexander countered by positioning his troops to neutralize the chariots. During the battle, Darius lost control, fled on horseback, and his army collapsed behind him. Alexander won again. He then captured more cities, including Susa and Persepolis, and looted them. Darius was eventually killed by one of his own men, Bessus, who tried to take his place. Alexander later hunted Bessus down, and Bessus was betrayed by his own generals and handed over to Alexander for execution. During this campaign, in 327 BCE, Alexander captured Bactria and strengthened alliances there by marrying Roxana, the daughter of a local ruler named Oxyates. Then Alexander turned his eyes toward India. He sent delegations to local kings demanding surrender. Some smaller kingdoms complied, but those who refused faced his army's fury. Villages and cities were burned. His toughest opponent came from Punjab, King Porus, ruler of the Paurava kingdom. The 2 armies met in the Battle of the Hydaspes. According to Arrian, Alexander won and captured Porus. But impressed by Porus's bravery and tactical skill, Alexander offered him co-rule. In the end, Porus was allowed to continue ruling under Alexander's authority. By this point, Alexander had conquered more territory than almost any ruler in history, but his ambition still wasn't satisfied, and he wanted to push deeper into India. His army, exhausted from constant warfare, refused to continue. A general told him that the soldiers longed for their families, children, and homeland. Hearing this, Alexander felt compassion and agreed to turn back. Even while retreating, though, he kept capturing small villages. When he returned to Persia, he was welcomed as the King of Kings. He adopted Persian customs and dress, which made many of his Macedonian generals uneasy. Back in the regions he had conquered earlier, Alexander executed several generals who had been guilty of corruption and injustice. In 324 BCE, at Susa, he arranged mass weddings between his generals and Persian noblewomen to strengthen the bond between Macedonians and Persians. He himself married 2 Persian royal women, Statira and Parysatis. Some historians, including Robin Lane Fox and Paul Cartledge, suggest that Alexander may also have had relationships with men, especially his closest companion Hephaestion. Later, Alexander settled in Babylon and began planning a campaign against Arabia. He spent his days partying and drinking heavily. On the night of June 1st, 323 BCE, after drinking at a banquet, he returned to his room and fell asleep. Soon after, he developed a high fever and his condition worsened. According to Arrian, He remained ill for 12 days. Despite every effort to save him, no treatment worked, and Alexander died at the age of 32. Some accounts even claim that he may have been poisoned. The death of the world's greatest king shocked the empire. People could hardly believe that such a powerful and fearless ruler had died so young. Alexander was buried in Alexandria. Over the centuries, his name became associated with courage and greatness, and emperors traveled from far away to pay tribute at his tomb. It is said that even the Roman Emperor Augustus visited to see his body. Today, the location of Alexander's tomb remains one of history's great mysteries. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Making videos like this takes a lot of time and effort, so your support means a lot. And before you go, let us know in the comments which historical period you'd like to see next. See you soon with another history documentary.